I'm now going to record Daf Tzadik Daled, part 2. And we're up to Hahu Shchava, which is 8 lines from the top. Hahu Shachva, there was a nifter, Dahava B'Deraikra, who was in the town of Deraikra. It was on Shabbos. And he was lying in Rosh HaYochid. Shora Rav Nachman Bar Yitzchak Lapuke LeKarmelis. Rav Nachman Bar Yitzchak allowed him to be carried out from the Rosh HaYochid to a Carmelis. Amalei Rabbi Yochanan Achua de Marbrei de Rabbana. Rabbi Yochanan, the brother of Marbrei de Rabbana, said to Rav Nachman Bar Yitzchak Kiman, and who allows you to take out a corpse on Shabbos is Reb Shimon, according to Reb Shimon. But Eimer de Pater Reb Shimon Mechiv Chatas, Reb Shimon only held that taking out a corpse, which is a malach shen tzricha legufa, is not an Isser deraisa, but Isura derabanan meika, but it still is an Isser derabanan. Amalei Rav Nachman Yitzchak says, Ho'lekim, I swear, the oilat be'at, you yourself should go and carry that corpse out. Because a fila Rabbi Yehuda shari, even if Rabbi Yehuda who holds malach shen tzricha legufa is chayiv, here we would allow. Because the Mika Amina L'Rishus Harabim, I didn't say to take him into Rishus Harabim, it's only to take him L'Karmelis Kamina, only to a Carmelis. A Carmelis is only Nisa Derabanan. Godel Kavod Abriyas Shadoichas Loisa Shabbatayra. And since this corpse was lying either in a place where it was Bibizayan or in the sun, or something, or there was a fire, so therefore, because it's Kavod Ameis, the Chacham will allow you, and I allow you, to take the corpse from Rosh HaYochid to a Carmelis, which is only Nisr Derabanan. And therefore, there's no Shaila. Rashi points out, and I'm going to take my time here, that there actually are two Shailas. One is Muktzah and one is Haitzah. So as far as Haitzah is concerned, to take him Rosh HaYochid le Carmelis, Kavod Abriyas, human dignity, overrides that Derabanan. But Muktzah, which is also Derabanan, that not so fast. Because we learned many dafim ago, 50 dafim ago, that if there's a corpse that needs to be moved and the corpse is muktzah, you can always put a loaf of bread or a tinuk on the corpse. So therefore now you can carry the corpse. So Rashi says, therefore you have two problems and two solutions. The problem of muktzah is solved by putting a kikor or tinuk on the corpse. The problem of Eitzah is not a problem because you're only taking him to a Carmelis and human dignity overrides the Derabanan. The Ramban disagrees with Rashi. The Ramban says, doesn't understand. You're going to put a kikar or tinoik on top of the corpse and carry him out the Carmelis. So in order to avoid the Isser Muktzah, you put on the kikar or tinoik. But because of that, you're now carrying out into a Carmelis an additional kikar or tinoik. So you changed 4 quarters for $1. Whereas what you did was, you avoided the Isser Muktzah by putting on a kikar or tinoik, but you're doing an extra derabanan of being might see this unnecessary kikar or tinnik into the Carmelis. So there are 4 pshatim how to defend Rashi. The first pshat is that if you put a kikar or tinnik out, we already allowed you to take out the mace, because Kavod Abriyas overrides taking a mace from Rosh HaYochid LeKarmelis. So since we already allowed Haitzah, it is preferable, says the Ran, Rabbeinu Nisim, to add an additional bit of Haitzah on the Kikar V'Tinoik rather than create a new Isser of Muktzah. Again, since we need to put a Kikar or Tinok on to avoid Muktzah, I'd rather avoid a new Isser of Muktzah, even though I'm now taking out a Kikar or Tinok LeKarmelis, because I'm already taking out the corpse to the Carmelis. So I'm just adding on to the Haitzah, which already was allowed. The Ran, in fact, has another teretz, and he says that the kikar tinnik became an accessory to the mace. In other words, since the real reason I want to carry it out is because of the mace. So the kikar tinnik is an accessory, and you won't be chayiv on Eitzah on the kikar tinnik. This needs some little fine tuning, because on one hand, we only put the kikar tinnik on the mace, that there shouldn't be an issue of muktzah on the mace. It seems from the Ran that really the mace should be moved. The mace should be moved because it's Kavod Abriyas, and therefore for Kavod Abriyas we should be mater muktzah. But for optics, for perception purposes, I also add a kikar tinnik, so therefore it doesn't look so bad because I'm also being metaltal something that's mutter. But really, in principle, I should have been able to move the mace alone. So the mace never became the Mishnah Berurah learns like that also. The mace never became an accessory to the kikar tinnik. No way. The mace was lying b'chama. The mace was lying b'bizoyin. But I have an isra muktzah. But the bizoyin, I'd be matter the muktzah. But I helped it a bit by putting on a kicker tinik. But really, in the end, the kicker tinik is an accessory to the mace. And if there's no isra in taking out the mace, there's no isra in taking out the accessory either. The Rashba explains that if you're going to put the kicker tinik on the mace in order to avoid muktzah, and you're going to handle the mace till you get to the door. Then when you get to the door, you're going to take the kicker tinik off, so you don't take the kicker tinik out to the caramelis. So you're making this whole thing look like a joke. You're putting the kicker tinik on to take off the muktzah, then you're taking him off not to carry it out. So if the Rabbanon waved it and said, you know what, carry it out already. And therefore, Rashi, Ba'etzim, you have to put the kicker tinik on. Otherwise, you can't move the corpse of Afila B'Rishus HaYochid. And once you have it on, stop fooling around and leave the kicker tinik on even outside. So Sfas has a very good teretz. Sfas says, very interesting. He says, put the kicker tinik on the mace and be metaltal the mace till the door. So therefore, you don't have an issue of muktzah. Now you don't want to carry the kicker tinik out into the caramelis. So put the kicker tinik off and carry the mace out. How can you be metaltal the mace l'chayr it's muktzah? But once you have muktzah in your hand, you're allowed to now take it wherever you want. You were allowed to pick up the muktzah because you had the kicker tinik. But once you have the muktzah in your hand, now you need to put it down. You can put it down anywhere. And I'm allowed to carry it out because kavod abrius is daichel laisesha b'tayr. So taking him to the caramelis is waived because of kavod abrius. As far as muktzah is concerned, I did have a kicker tinik on until the door. Then afterwards, I can take the kicker tinik off. There is no need, even according to Rashi, to take the kicker tinik out, and I can continue carrying the mace, because once you have muktzah in your hand, which you're allowed to pick up, you're allowed to take it and put it down wherever you want. Zog Gemara Tanan Hosam, there's a Mishnah in Negoim, Hataylish Simone Tuma, V'ich V'amichya, Iver B'laisasei. If somebody has two white hairs in a nega and he removes them, so you avoided going to the kohen, and that's a laisasei. You avoided going to the kohen by taking off the two white hairs. Or if you have michyas basar chai and you cauterize it, that it's no longer michyas basar chai, you burn it. So therefore you have a laisasei because you removed the signs of the nega. So Itmar, there was an interesting shaila. What about achas mishtayim chayiv? If there were two white hairs, you took out one, so that's simple. Then you're chayiv because you took the two hairs which would have made a siman tumah, you took out one which is no longer a siman tumah, so you manipulated the simanim instead of going to the kohen. What about achas misholish? What about you took out one of the white hairs out of three? Rav Nachman Amar Chayiv, Rav Sheshes Amar Potter. Rav Nachman says you're Chayiv, Rav Sheshes says you're Potter. Rav Nachman Amar Chayiv because Ahani Masav, the Mishtaq L'Chodachriti Azlalo Tumah. Rav Nachman says you had three, you took off one, right now it's still Tameh, but if another one comes off, you'll be Tohar. So you're Chayiv for manipulating the Simanim and bringing it closer to avoiding going to the Kayyim. When you took off one, now you have two. If one more comes off, you'll only have one. So that also is an Isser of manipulating the Simani Tumah. Rav Sheshes Amar Potter, Rav Sheshes says you're Potter, Hashtamiya Ha'isal Tumah. You had 3 hairs, you took off one, so you still have 2, so the Tumah is still there, so you did nothing. Amar Rav Sheshes, so Rav Sheshes says, how can I prove that if you take out 1 out of 3 hairs and you left 2 to be Tameh, so you're Potter, because you didn't accomplish anything? Because the Mishnah says, "V'chein kazais min ameis ukazais min anvei lechayiv." If you carry out a kazais from a corpse or a kazais from a nevela, you're chayiv. What would be if you took out a chatzi zayis? If you only took out a half a zayis, you're potter. But there's another brayza that says that even a chatzi zayis, you're chayiv. Now, why would you be chayiv if you take out a half a zayis? So, my love, would you not say Hodetanya, the second brayza that says chayiv is speaking the apik chatzi zayis mikazayis. If you took a half a kazayis out from a whole kazayis, so there you accomplished something, because before there was a kazayis that's metame, anything that goes into the room with it. Now you took out a half a zayis, anything that comes into the room is tor. So you took out a davar choshev. You took out a half a zayis, which now removed the capacity of this mace to be metame in the bayis, because you only left a half a zayis. When are you potter? The apik chotzi zayis mikazayis amachza. If there was a kazayis and a half of a mace in a room, you took out a half. When you took out a half, there's still a hole, so you accomplished nothing. So you see, if taking a half out of 1 1/2 accomplishes nothing, and you're not chai for it, so b'Shabbos. So the same way, taking 1 white hair out of 3 white hairs of a nega, you're also potter because you accomplished nothing. There's still 2. Rav Nachman will say idi v'idi chayiv. Rav Nachman would say no. Whether you take a half from one zayis, you're chayiv, because before there was a zayis that's matame everything in the room, and now there's only half. And Rav Nachman says, in my opinion, if you take a half a kazayis from a kazayis and a half, you're also chayiv. Because taking a half from 1.5 is bringing the remaining one closer to being tahor. The same way that he holds taking 1 here out of 3, you're chayiv, because you're bringing it closer to be tahor. When did we say potter? The apik chasi zayis memeiz gadol. If there's a large corpse and you took out half a zayis, just because you took out a half a zayis, you are still very, 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 very far from making this mace disappear so that it's no longer metame ba'oil. So taking a half a zayis out of a huge mace is really meaningless. Taking a half a zayis out of a kazayis is chayiv. And Rav Nachman says, my opinion is even taking a half out of 1.5 is also chayiv, because by taking a half out of 1.5, you brought the remaining half much, much, much closer to becoming Torah as well. Zuk the Mishnah, Hanoitel Tziparnav Zu Bezu. If somebody removes a nail using his other fingernails, or Beshinav, or with his teeth, or Sa'arai, or he tears hair from his head using his fingernails, V'chein Sfamei, or his mustache, or his Kana, his beard, V'chein HaGoideles, V'chein HaKoicheles, V'chein HaPakeses. These 3 things we'll see in the Gemara. Reb Lezer Mechayiv. Reb Lezer says Yichayiv and Issa Deraisa, even if you removed a nail using your fingernails, or even if you pulled out your hair or mustache or beard using your fingers. The Chum consider that unusual way of removing a nail or hair, and therefore it's only an Isser Derabbanan. Amar Rabbi Elazar says the Machlokes is biyad. The machlokes is only if you remove a nail using your fingernails. That's where the Chacham hold it to the Rabbanan. Avol b'kli, but if you use scissors or a nail clipper, you're chayiv and iser deraisa. The chiddush is you should not think pshita. Isn't it obvious? Zu bezutana. The Mishnah says that if you tear off a fingernail using your fingernails, it's the Rabbanan. So evidently, if you would use scissors or a clipper, the Rabbanan hold it's the deraisa. Where it says, no, Mao the time, maybe we should say, Rabbana Bekeli Nami Patri, maybe the Rabbanan hold, even if you use scissors or nail clipper, it's also only a Rabbanan, because maybe the Raisa is only when you shear wool from an animal. Otherwise, it's all the Rabbanans. V'hadiktani Zubezu. So why did the Mishnah say that if you tear off a fingernail using your fingernails, it's a Rabbanan? Like Yacha Koicha the Reb Lezer. To teach you, the Reb Lezer holds that even you taking a fingernail off using your fingernails, he holds as an Issa Deraisa. So Kamash Malon, therefore Rabbi Elazar, the Amayr, taught us that with a fingernail the Rabbanan hold is a Derabanan, but if you use nail clippers or a scissor, it's a Deraisa. So again, if you use nail clippers or a scissor, there's an Issa Deraisa. If you take off a nail or take off a nail using your fingernails, according to the Rabbanan, it's a Shinui and it's a Derabanan, and according to Rabbi Eliezer, it's still a Deraisa. Rabbi Elazar continues to say, Machlokes la'atzmoi. Machlokes is when you do your own fingernail, aval chaveru, which is very hard to do somebody else's, to tear off somebody else's fingernail using your nails. Divra kol, everybody, even Rabbi Eliezer holds that you're potter. Pshita, isn't that obvious? Because the Mishnah said Siparnav. The Mishnah was talking about your own nails, Tanan. Ma'od the time, I would think Rabbi Eliezer would hold lachaveri nami mechayiv. Even if you do somebody else's fingernail with your own fingernails, you're also chayiv in issa deraisa. The reason why the Mishnah talked about a person doing his own nail, like the Yacha Koichan the Rabbanan, that even his own nail, the Rabbanan hold is only an Issa the Rabbanan. Kamash Malon, that Reb Lezer, the Machmer, is only Machmer on your own nail, but on somebody else's, it's an Issa the Rabbanan. So bottom line, if you use nail clippers or scissors, it's an Issa the Raisa. If you take off your own nail using your fingernails, according to the Rabbanan, it's a Shinoi and it's a Rabbanan. According to Reb Lezer, it's not a Shinoi, it's a Deraisa. But if you take off somebody else's fingernail using your fingernails, even Rabbi Eliezer is made that's a Derabanan. V'chein Sara, if you pull your hair out from hair of the head or mustache or beard, so it's an Isser Derabanan. And if you use scissors, it's an Isser Deraisa. Tana, we learned in a Braisa Anoitel Maloi Piazug. If you take a scissors tip of hairs, if you cut a scissors tip of hairs, you're chayiv. Kama Maloi Piazug. How much is a scissors tip of hairs? Some review the shtayim, it's 2 hairs. But Tanya, we once learned in a Braisa Lekarcha shtayim regarding tearing hair from your head because somebody died. There the shear is 2. Is mashma that the shear of geziza is a different shear. Ema, the Braisa should say v'chein lekarcha shtayim. The same way that geizes is 2 hairs, tearing hair from your head because you're mourning over someone is also 2 hairs. Tanya, we learned in a Brisa, and Nami also hachi exactly like that. Hanoitel Maloi Pi Azug b'Shabbos chayiv. The Tanakama says you're chayiv for geizes when you cut a scissors tip of hairs, and the Kama Maloi Pi Azug, how much is a scissors tip? Shteim 2. Rabbi Eliezer is machmer. He says Aimer even you're chayiv even on one hair. You're chayiv for geizes. U'maidim chachamim l'Rabbi Eliezer. The chamer maidim to Rabbi Eliezer that you're chayiv on one hair. B'melaket levanos mitoich shchayres. That if you take white hair out of dark hair, shafilu achas chayiv. Why? Because since you're makbid, you shouldn't even have one white hair, so then you're machshav that white hair, and you're chayiv afilu for one. And by the way, v'davar za'av b'chayil aser. You shouldn't even do that during the week. Mishum shenemar liyilbash gever simlas isha. Man should not do women's cosmetic type of activities. A woman is more machmir that nobody should see white hairs on her. So removing white hairs, plucking white hairs is a woman's type of activity. And a man, if he does that, afilu b'chayil, violates liyilbash gever simlas isha. Tanya, we learned on a Brisa, Reb Shimon Elazar Aimer Tzipirin Shapirish Ruba or Vitzitzin Shapirish Ruban Biad Muter Bekli Chayiv Chatas. Reb Shimon Elazar says if most of the nail is off or most of the skin around the nail is off, so if you use a utensil, you're Chayiv Chatas, but if you do it with your hand, it's potter, it's muter lekatchila. So that doesn't make sense. If with a utensil it's a deraisa, then using your hand should at least be a derabanan. So the Gemara modifies it, says as follows: Hachi kamar. Pirsha ruban, if most of the nail is off or most of the skin is off, so it's going to come off. It's not really considered attached anymore. So biyad using your hand is mutter, but bekli, if you use the scissors, it's an isser potter, it's an isser derabanan, because we don't want you to use scissors or a clipper on Shabbos. But if you use your hands, it's mutter l'katchila. But if it's loiper shuruban, if most of it is still attached, then biyad is potter. Using your hand, which is unusual, is an isser derabanan. Aval aser, it's also a derabanan. And the kli is chayiv chatas. If you use a utensil, since most of it is still attached, it's an isser deraisa. Amar of Yudah, halacha Reb Shimon and Elazar, once again, that if most is off, then using your hand is mutter, using a keli is an isser derabanan. If most is still attached, using a keli is an isser deraisa, using your hand is a derabanan. When we say we're makel, that if it's mostly off, then it's mutter, or if the tool it's isser derabanan, that's if it's torn and what's left is towards the tip of your finger, because towards the tip of your finger is just a nuisance, but that doesn't really hurt. But if it's torn from the top towards the bottom of your finger, so there it's still attached and it might tear more, it might be worse. So there matir, there we can be more makel and say that it's only nisur derabanan. I'm going to stop here. Kol tuv and have a very good evening. We should see each other in good health very soon.